Hey there everyone, and how are you guys doing today? My name is Joe Martin, and I am from MobileCupOfJoe.com, and in this episode of Mobile Cup of Joe, I'm going to be giving you my full review of the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 on Verizon Wireless. So guys, as you can see, the Note 3 has a very big display. This thing measures in at 5.7 inches and has a pixel resolution of 1920 by 1080p Full HD, so it's very bright, very big, and very beautiful, as you can see right there. Now, some other key specs for the phone include a Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 quad-core processor, a 13 megapixel rear-facing camera which is capable of recording 4K videos, and this thing has 3 gigabytes of RAM. This is the first phone in the United States to bring 3 gigs of RAM on a mobile smartphone, which is a lot more than some computers and some laptops are even packing in. So 3 gigs of RAM and all those other pre-mentioned specs make this phone incredibly popular and very powerful. You also see on the back side of the phone, we have the S Pen, which makes its reintroduction here in the Note 3 very popular and very widely used in all of Samsung's Note products. So if you're shopping this Christmas, you know that one person on your Christmas shopping list who is a really big tech junkie. They love having the latest and greatest technology gadgets. The Galaxy Note 3 is definitely a very incredible device, and is certainly one that you should keep on your watch list. So let's take a look at the Note 3 in this full review and find out why it is so popular this holiday season in our full review of it on MCOJ. But before we go any further, please go ahead and grab that coffee cup, fill it up, bring it over, and sit on down. Take a swig for a Mobile Cup of Joe. Alright, before we get too far in this review, I'd like to give a really big thank you and shout out to our friends over at Verizon Wireless for hooking us up with the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 and allowing us to give you my full review of it today. One thing before we get too far into this review, a little shameless plug that I've got. Mobile Cup of Joe will actually be holding a live Google Plus on-air hangout on December 27th at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, during this hangout, you will be able to come with me and one other editor from Mobile Cup of Joe. Haven't decided who is going to be joining me just yet, but it'll be me and one of our other editors, and you'll just for about an hour or so, however long we want to do it, probably around an hour, just join us where you can ask us questions about technology. You can talk to us about technology. We really just want to get a chance to hang out with you guys, because we've been doing this for a little over a year now. We tried doing a hangout in the past, but that didn't work out so well, but we got it down this time to a formula where we know it's going to work. So December 27th at 7 o'clock p.m. we will be hosting this hangout. If you go to the description below right here, and I'll add an annotation on the video as well, click that link in the description or click on the annotation. You'll actually be taken to the event on Google Plus, and there you can comment on that post and say that, I want to join this hangout, because with Google Plus Hangouts, as I'm sure you know, only around 8 or 10 people can actually be in the video portion of the hangout. So we'll select however many people we can to be in the video portion of the hangout with us, and then we will randomly select those people. And if you don't get selected, that's fine. You will be live streaming the event onto our YouTube channel as well. So again, annotation up top on the video or link in the description below to go to the event on Google Plus. Leave a comment on there saying they know, hey, I want to join this hangout, and then as time gets closer to it, we will decide who we want to invite to the hangout to hang out with us in the video portion. Randomly, we'll select a few people. We'll contact you, and it should be a blast. So we'll put some reminders as little text bubbles throughout this video reminding you to check out those links for the hangout. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with this review for the Note 3. Now, my first pro that I have with the device is in the design, and in the fact that there is no more hyperglazed plastic here on the Note 3. If you've used any Samsung product in the past couple of years, if you used any of Samsung's Android products, you will know that they are infamous for their hyperglazed plastic, which is what they usually construct their devices out of. Well, on the Note 3, you can see right here on the back that we have this kind of faux leather, or pleather as some like to call it, design here. This is actually plastic, but as you can see, it is very reminiscent of a leather design. You can even see kind of fake leather stitching all on the side of the device, which personally I think looks quite nice. Now, some people aren't a big fan of this kind of pleathery look right here. Again, it is still made out of plastic, but personally I really do like how this looks. We haven't really seen any other OEM construct a phone with this pleather material before, and while it does still feel a bit like plastic, it has kind of a tackier grip to it than the Hyperglaze, and is certainly a much less fingerprint magnet than the Hyperglaze plastic is. I really do like this. I like the stitching around it, and if you look on the sides of the device, which are still kind of a chrome shiny plastic, you can see that there are these fine lines around it, which actually are supposed to resemble the pages of a notebook, as you can see right there. So it's because of those little lines right there and the stitching of the leather that really give the Note 3 a very nice design. What's even cooler about the Note 3 is that Samsung actually shrinked the height and the width of it from the Note 2 while increasing the screen size, and that's pretty impressive. But even looking at this phone, it feels good in the hand, the weight is considerably light, and it's just incredibly thin too. For a phone this big, I was very impressed by how thin they were able to make it. So from a design standpoint, this is probably one of the better looking Samsung products I've ever seen. That's including the S4 and the S3. So not everyone is a fan of the leather, of the fake leather construction, but personally I really do like it. Now another pro that we've got here is the improved S Pen. We're not going to dive into the software of the S Pen just yet, we're just going to be touching on the actual hardware of it right now. But the S Pen has been improved from the previous iterations of Note products. We now have this button right here which prompts Air Command, which we'll get into a bit later in the review. But what's really cool about the S Pen is that before with Galaxy Note products, it would only go in the device one way. Now with the Note 2, or with the Note 3 rather, you see we can put it in this way, we can take it out and turn it around and put it in this way, and it goes in. Another cool thing with it is something that was actually first introduced on the Note 8.0, is that say we're in the application drawer, we can actually activate the capacitive touch buttons with the S Pen now. This is something you were not able to do in previous Galaxy Note products, the Note 2 and the original Galaxy Note, but this is a feature now in the Note 3. Again, made its first appearance in the Note 8.1, but overall the S Pen is very much improved from previous iterations of the Galaxy Note line, and like I said, we will be taking a deeper look at the features of the S Pen in the software portion of this review. Now another pro I had for the device is that display. This is 5.7 inches right here, guys. 1920 by 1080p Full HD, over 360 pixels per inch, and this camera is not going to do it justice since we only upload our videos in a max of 720p HD, but this screen is downright gorgeous. This is a Super AMOLED panel, as you would expect from Samsung, which delivers very high contrast ratios. Some people aren't a big fan of Super AMOLED. They say it's far too colorful. Personally, I like having those big bright colors. I like the high contrast ratios. And another big pro, since this is Super AMOLED, your blacks are very, very black. Since it's Super AMOLED, it doesn't have to light up every single pixel. So when you see these blacks right here, that's actually the screen off. The Super AMOLED panels only need to light up what's being used. So if you're in something like your settings menu, these blacks right here are very, very deep and very rich because the screen right there is actually not on. This is nothing new with Super AMOLED panels, but I do like to point it out because Super AMOLED technology is some of my favorite that we see in mobile products, and on the Note 3 the screen is just gorgeous. Now the one con I can think of with this screen is that it might be a bit unwieldy for some people. Just take a look at these LG Nexus 5, which has a screen size of 4.95 inches, which certainly isn't a small screen, but then you compare it to something like the Galaxy Note 3, and you really do see just how much it trumps it. Now, this is definitely not nearly as big as some products such as the Samsung Galaxy Mega or the Sony Xperia Z Ultra, but 5.7 inches is still incredibly large, and you really can't access all angles of the screen with one hand. You're going to have to hold it in one hand and use it with the other. So this is not a phone for one-handed use like a lot of phones. For an example, like the Nexus 5R, you can see I can reach all four corners of the screen with my thumb, but that's just something you can't do really here on the Note 3. So I don't have an issue with the larger display, but I do want to point out as a con because sometimes it can be a bit annoying to have to use two hands to properly use the phone, and that screen size might just be way too large, especially if you have smaller hands. Now another pro that I have with the phone is its 2.3 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon 800 processor, which is an absolute mammoth, as you would expect. But the real awesome thing here awesome thing here is that the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 is the first phone, at least to my knowledge, in the United States, to be packing in 3 entire gigabytes of RAM. Now, we've seen 2 gigabytes of RAM slowly start to be a norm when it comes to high-end smartphones, but the Note 3 said, you know what, 2 gigs of RAM is way too small. We gotta have 3 freaking gigs of RAM right here. And let's see if we can go ahead and play some Riptide GP2, just so you can get kind of an idea of how gaming performance is going to run. Now, when you're talking about things like multitasking, things like that, the 3 gigs of RAM really does help. You can switch between applications like nobody's business. High-end games like Riptide GP2 here, you can see run without any trouble whatsoever. That Snapdragon 800 chipset coupled with 3 gigs of RAM is really an awesome thing. And someone is calling me right now on my Nexus 5, so that's a bit annoying. But you can see here, no issues whatsoever by any means in terms of gaming. So if you're concerned about high processing speeds on your phone, the Note 3 will most definitely be able to keep up with pretty much anything you throw at it. Another pro that I have with the device is that its 13 megapixel camera takes gorgeous photos. Now up top you have a 2 megapixel camera, and on the back you have this 13 megapixel camera, which is worth noting that it does stick out a bit from the back of the phone, as you can see right there. Nothing too drastic, just wanted to point that out. But the camera on the Note 3 is really very impressive. Actually, both the front-facing and the rear-facing cameras right here. We got my little face right there. Hello, take a picture, processing. And it takes really fast photos, that's always nice. Now, as you'd expect from a Samsung phone, there's a ton of features in here. You've got auto, sports, surround shot, which is essentially photosphere, panorama, eraser, rich tone HDR, golf animated photo, which allows you to create GIFs with the pictures, which is always fun, sound and shot, best face, best photo, beauty face. All the features that you saw on the S4 have made their way here to the Note 3. And there goes my Nexus 5 again. Someone must really need to get a hold of me, but they gotta wait till this review is over. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some sample photos that I did take with the Note 3. Let's head into this and let's go to some really cool outdoor shots that I got. So I took this with the rear-facing camera. This was set at 13 megapixels from this distance away, and you zoom in, you can see that the detail is still very, very impressive. Gets a bit pixelated, but look at those gorgeous little birds sitting on that pole right there. This is another shot that I took. It's kind of hard to see on the camera right now. If you head to our website at www.mobilecupofjoe.com and look at our full review, you'll be able to get a better idea for just how the image quality does look. But overall, gorgeous camera here, just as great as the S4, which has a fantastic camera. This is probably one of the best cameras I've seen on a smartphone. Samsung really knows how to get their optics right, and it certainly does shine through here on the Note 3. Now, one con that I had with the phone is that its battery life is somewhat disappointing. Now, I never had any issue getting through a full day of use with the Note 3. I do want to point that out. But when we take a look at the battery, if we can get this off, we look here and we see that this battery is a 3000 something, doesn't say right here. This is a very large battery, around 3,800 milliamp hours, I believe, somewhere in that ball field. Should have done my homework. I'll put some text here in the video correcting me. But either way, this is a very large battery, and I was kind of expecting to end each day with around 30 or 40% of battery life still remaining. I would end the day with about 15%. Now, again, I could still get through a full day of use with no problem at all, but with a battery this big, with the power consumption available in the Snapdragon 800 processor, I was expecting more battery life out of the Note 3. Again, I want to point out that there is no issue with getting through a full day of use, but considering how high-end of a phone this is, I was expecting to get just a little bit more. Now, another pro that I have with the phone is its very intuitive software. We go here, and let's go ahead and confirm what version of Android we're running right now. We have got Android version 4.3 Jelly Bean, which is outdated at this point. 4.4 KitKat, actually 4.4.2 KitKat is the latest and greatest version of Android. We will be seeing KitKat coming to the Note 3 at some point in time, but for the time being, we do have 4.3 Jelly Bean. And really, it works very good, and Samsung has added a ton of additional features here. You still have that kind of cartoony look of TouchWiz, which you've come to expect as TouchWiz goes, but there's a lot of features here. As you can see from your notification panel, you've got all the features you saw on the Samsung Galaxy S4, including Smart Stay, Multi-Window, Air View, NFC, S-Beam, Smart Pause, Smart Scroll, and Air Gesture, all that fun stuff. One of the cool things about Multi-Window, which is one of the improved software features on the Note 3, is that you can now kind of customize it a bit more, and it's a bit more refined than previous iterations of it. So if we tap on this, you can see that I've actually created an icon that says YouTube/messages, and I've got my single icons right here. If I can get it to pop up, I've got all my single icons, but I have this group one right here. If I tap on it, it'll actually open up. Let me make sure no numbers are showing. It'll actually pop up YouTube and my messaging application at the same time. Now, if you want to know how do I create that, it's pretty simple. So let's go ahead and let's open up our contacts. Make sure no numbers are showing. And then from there, let's go ahead and open up our gallery. And now, say I want to save this. I want to save my gallery. I want to save my contacts. I go to, let's see. I go to my multi-window, back out of that. And hold on. Let's bring that back. We're having a bit of issues right now. Open up our gallery, and then we open up our contacts. And then I open up that multi-window view right there. I swipe down to this little arrow right there. Tap that. We open up Google Maps, but it doesn't matter. We go here. We tap on that arrow, and it brings up an option where it says Create, Edit, and Help. We hit Create, and we say Map/Contacts. That's fine. We hit OK. And now if we go up here, we can see that Map/Contacts is now a preset option. So if I go home, I go to multi-window, and I click on Map/Contacts, it'll open up both my contacts and Google Maps. Very cool feature here, especially if you are doing something all the time, such as texting and watching YouTube videos. Really neat thing to have here on the Note 3. Now, you might have noticed that when I pulled the S Pen out, I got this little bubble that popped up on my display. This, my friends, is called Air Command, and is accessed by pressing this button on the S Pen right here. Once you hover it over the display, as you might be able to see right there, and then you just press that button once it's hovering over the screen, and Air Command pops up. Now from Air Command, you have Action Memo, Scrapbooker, Screen Write, S-Finder, and Pen Window. One of the coolest things, maybe not the most functional thing, but one of the very neatest things is Action Memo. And this basically makes your notes very smart. So let's say they meet someone whose name is Bob, and their number is 269-123-45, and we hit this little button here, and it'll highlight that, and we can go ahead and go to our contacts, and it'll save Bob as a contact, and it'll add 269-123-95 in there. This is really cool. Again, maybe probably not as functional as just typing it in yourself, but it is pretty cool once you use it. And just fun stuff like that really make the Note 3 and the S Pen a joy to use. Another thing I found cool with it was Scrapbooker. If we can get our S Pen to pop up right here. So Scrapbooker is a cool little thing which allows you to save images and items to a scrapbook. So say that I want to save my home screen right here. I draw my little circle right there, and load it, and then I choose my scrapbook right here, and I hit that checkbox, and then say I go to my application drawer and I say, hey, you know what? I want to save this to my scrapbook. I go to Scrapbooker from Air Command, and I just draw my little thing around it, and then it'll think about it, like it's doing right now, and then I go ahead and save to my scrapbook. So now, when I go into, let's get this out of the way. Now, when I go to my scrapbook, which can be found right here, and I go to my scrapbook, I can see that I've got both of those images saved right there. Again, a really neat thing to organize your images and stuff you want, kind of for an example of how I used it when I got my haircut. Wasn't sure what I wanted to get, what kind of style I wanted to get, so I went to Google Images and I scrapbooked a few images of possible hairstyles I wanted to get on here. Got lots of men on my phone right here, but it was really cool, and I like going on Google Images, just circling the picture I wanted and having it saved automatically into my scrapbook. So it's features like that that really make the Note 3's software truly something you don't see on other smartphones. Now, with all that said about the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, I ended up giving it a 10 out of 10. It's a very outstanding. I have very, very few complaints about this phone, and the complaints that I do have about it aren't enough to warrant a full point docked from it. Between the great design, the incredible display, the insanely fast processing speeds, gorgeous camera, fairly strong battery life. Again, was expecting a little bit more, but that's a very nitpicky thing to complain about with the phone. Call quality is pretty great, didn't mention that, but the call quality is fantastic on here. And you've got that very intuitive S Pen and the intuitive software. All in all, this is a fantastic phone. Not for everybody. If you have small hands or you don't need all the latest features on your phone, because this is still a pretty expensive phone, this is not going to be for you. But if you want to be on the cutting edge, you know that person in your family or one of your friends that you're shopping for this Christmas, they want a new phone and they want the latest, the greatest technology, the latest software, the latest hardware. The Note 3 is absolutely most 100% definitely worth taking a look at, because this is one of my favorite devices I have used in 2013. And with all that said, that's all the time we have for this episode of Mobile Cup of Joe. Guys, if you liked the video, which I most certainly hope you did, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more Mobile Cup of Joe videos, and go ahead and hit the like button too. 1 second, 1 like really does help support the show. Mobile Cup of Joe, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Google+, and we're also on our website at www.mobilecupofjoe.com for the latest in technology news, reviews, giveaways, and more. And don't forget to click on the annotation or in the description below to go to the link and sign up to possibly be participating in our Mobile Cup of Joe Hangout, which once again is taking place on December 27th at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. With that shameless plug said, once again, I am Joe Mari, and thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.